Returning to the rest of the crew, they again start discussing options. Epps suggests fixing the ship, whereas Greer wants to build a raft and leave. Hey, that might sound stupid, but it's definitely the best option in this case. Greer fires up at Epps and leaves, but not before punching Munda in the gob. Murphy has found his way back to the captain's quarters. After some emotional destruction and soul-searching, he finally snaps and grabs the bottle and glass. Still open and clean, by the way. Dodge and Munda are in the galley, arguing over whether or not the canned food is still safe. They play paper, scissors, rock to decide who will try the food first. Munda loses. By now we're just moving around, seeing where everyone is wound up after the big blow-up, and next is Greer. He has found his way to the piano and got his hands on a pretty filthy-looking bottle of, I think, champers? Anyway, he's getting maggoted, and he's talking to a photo of his fiancée. Back to poor Munda with a look of absolute disgust as he lifts a spoonful up to his mouth. But surprisingly, the food is actually alright. The two both start to chow down with relish, and Carl Urban's excitement is just hilarious.
Oh wow, you're gonna try that.
That's good.
That's great!
Epps, meanwhile, has gone to look for Katie because by now she's figured out that something is definitely going on with this boat. This is confirmed when every damn door in sight starts slamming the moment she says Katie's name. Back to Dodge and Munda. Man, we're getting whiplash from all these cuts. The two are by now cracking some admittedly hilariously delivered lines as they chow down.
When we get back, I'm gonna take my money and I'm gonna buy you a bathtub.
But before long, things take a turn for the gross as they realise they are now chowing down on living maggots. Ugh. By far one of the grossest moments I've ever seen in a horror movie, and it's fucking great. Back to Epps, who has entered through the one door left open, which is Katie's room. She finds her clothes, toys, some drawings on the wall. It's honestly a sweet moment amongst all the bleakness. Meanwhile, poor Greer. He's tripping. That alcohol must have aged badly because he's on the dance floor and everyone is loving it. Quick interjection of the cat joining Murphy, then back to Greer. Francesca comes up and says, I honestly don't know. They didn't subtitle it in any version of the movie I've ever seen, and I obviously don't speak Italian, but I assume it was something along the lines of come dance with me. Greer is unnerved, but is convinced that none of this is real. He rations that you can't cheat with a dead girl, right? And kisses Francesca. Epps overcomes her disgust and manages to get the locket off of Katie's skeleton. As she opens it, Katie appears behind her, begging her not to close it. She explains that she was on her way to New York to meet her parents, who are now both dead. Epps offers to give her the locket back, but it goes straight through her hand.
Oh god, you really are a fucking ghost.
You really only just figuring that out, girl? God damn, I thought you were the smart one. Meanwhile, Murphy and the captain are drinking together. He offers his condolences for Santos before offering Murphy a photo of another derelict, the Lorelei. He explains that she was adrift, and the Graza rescued her, along with the gold and a lone survivor. Murphy interjects that there were no survivors on board the Lorelei, and the captain hands him a final photograph, to which Murphy reacts in horror.
Jesus Christ.
Katie explains to Epps that all the souls on board the Graza are trapped, and that someone is doing it on purpose. She grows increasingly scared as she says that she isn't marked like the others, and once the boat's full, they'll all be ferried somewhere. But before she can say where, she disappears with a scream. Murphy is looking for Epps, but he runs across a very burnt and pissed off Santos spirit. He explains that because of Murphy's plan, he's now stuck on the Graza, and now intends Murphy to meet the same fate. And just as a side note, the burn effects on Santos here are really excellent. Quick cut back to Greer and a now naked Francesca. Greer approaches her from behind, but unfortunately, she goes ethereal on him, and he simply falls through her and down the shaft in front of them. Maybe there was something soft down there? Epps finds Murphy, but Santos begins messing with his mind, and he sees Santos approaching with a knife, rather than Epps approaching with a flashlight. Santos goads him, and he does almost kill Epps, but Jack comes from behind and knocks him out. Dodge and Jack drop Murphy into the aquarium and lock the top, before going to look for Greer. They don't find him, but they resolve to fix the ship anyway. We now get a pretty cool sequence as the crew begins repairing the ship. Very smooth and very well filmed, and they quickly repair the tears. They then set up the pumps and begin pumping the water out of the ship. Epps sets the ship on course so that it bypasses the rocks, informs Dodge and Munda of what's going on, and then goes to look for Greer. She instead finds Katie, standing at the end of the hall and looking somberly at Epps, and Epps turns to see Greer's body. We quickly see Munda and Dodge arguing over who is going to dive in and see why one of the pumps is blocked, with Munda again losing paper, scissors, rock, before back to Epps. I'd just like to point out that every time in this movie that they play paper, scissors, rock, Munda always plays the same damn thing. You think he'd learn. Katie offers to show her something, and we begin what is hands down one of my favourite flashback montages I've ever seen filmed. The music, the style, the methodical execution of the entire crew by the henchmen, then the henchmen turning on each other, leading up to Francesca finally killing the last henchman. It is absolute art. I won't go into too much detail here, but it's absolutely perfect. If you haven't seen it, at least look up the Ghost Ship Massacre scene on YouTube. You will not regret it. And then we get the final reveal of the true orchestrator of the whole massacre, Jack Ferryman. Normally I'd fault the montage of Jack moments as beating us over the head with the reveal, but I do think it was more to illustrate her thought process about the reveal, as the last shot is Jack knocking out Murphy and then a shot of the knob turning, so it's sort of to lead us back to Murphy. You could argue that the reveal was a bit obvious, but hey, I didn't see it coming, and that hook kill was downright savage. And so now Epps knows what's going on. She immediately runs to Murphy, but it is too late. She hysterically tries to break him free with some downright solid acting from Julianne Margiles. I hope I didn't just butcher her name, but she does it well, and even Katie looks sympathetic. We also see the photograph the captain gave him floating from his hand, implying that he held it as he died, hoping it would be seen, which of course is Jack. Epps heads to the bridge to find Dodge. She tells him Murphy is dead, but before she can tell him about Jack, Jack enters. Epps feigns ignorance and asks them both to stay on the bridge while she finds Munda. He's a bit preoccupied at the moment though, getting a quality massage from some possessed gears. Oof, feet first too. Epps slides down the ladder and runs to the edge, just in time to see the water pumping out turn red in the pipes, and then she notices Munda's mangled body. Jack tries to follow, but Dodge won't let him. And finally, Jack takes the mask off, even literally taking the jacket he's worn all movie off too. Another reason I've always loved this movie is simply for this scene. All throughout the movie, Jack lets them push him around, he's friendly, he's jovial, and then suddenly he just takes it off and you get this pure psychopath that Desmond nails. After some heated debate, Dodge shoots Ferryman, but unfortunately, he's tougher than a pump action. Dodge rushes into the engine room and informs Epps that he shot Ferryman. He notices she's wiring the ship to blow and starts trying to talk her down. He gets quite heated about it, eventually throwing the spear gun and oxygen tanks nearby into the water below. Epps, however, wonders why Dodge hasn't asked her where Munda is yet. Dodge begins laughing as he shapeshifts back into Ferryman, pointing out that
I already know.
Ferryman explains that he is a salvager, just like her, except whereas she collects ships, he collects souls. He offers her the Graza for her soul, but Epps wants her crewmates back. Ferryman apologises, but states that once a passenger is marked, they're mine. Epps prepares to press the detonator, but Ferryman uses telekinesis to knock a nearby pipe into her head, sending her crashing into the water. Ferryman follows and attacks her, slamming her into the steel pipes before holding her underwater. She manages to grab the spear gun, however, and stabs him in the leg with it. She pops up, aiming the spear gun at Ferryman. He mocks her, as he can't be killed, but his arrogance turns to shock as he notices her eyes are not on him, but on the detonator above. She aims at it and fires, detonating the explosives as she dives for cover. Ferryman is disintegrated in the explosion. Epps, meanwhile, is pretty disoriented and unsure where to swim, but fortunately, Katie leads her to the exit, before smiling widely as she finally ascends to heaven along with the rest of the trapped souls. Epps breaks the surface and we get a rather beautiful shot of all the souls encircling the sinking Graza as they're finally set free, before the Graza herself sinks below the waves. Epps can do nothing but hold onto a floating box and wait to be found. She's found, I assume the next day, by a cruise ship. As the boat docks, Epps is brought out onto a stretcher and loaded onto an ambulance. However, as the paramedics step out of her line of sight, she notices some very familiar crates being loaded onto the cruise ship that saved her. Now, to this day, I'm not sure if the people loading it are meant to be her crew. The blonde guy kind of looks like Dodge, and the black guy kind of looks like Greer, but the other two I'm not sure about. Maybe they just wanted them to look similar, but they're not actually the same actors, and I've never really been able to confirm it either way, so that's up to interpretation. Anyway, of course, bringing up the rear is our man Ferryman, who of course is not dead. Epps screams at the clear implication that the crew that saved her is about to meet the same fate as the Graza. And that's it! Ghost Ship was released in 2002, and while they left it open for a sequel, we never really got one. It's certainly not the greatest horror movie made or anything, but it's fun, the acting is solid, the set is realistic, you actually do feel like you're on a rusted, haunted ocean liner. The opening massacre is definitely one of the most creative openers in horror movie history, and it's overall just a good movie. It's not crap, it's not stellar, it's just good, it's It's worth watching. The Brazen Bull for best kill has to go to the opening massacre. I know it's cheap to give the best kill to a group, but come on. Come on. For creativity, that shit is 10 out of 10. Fun fact, apparently they initially wanted everyone to get decapitated, but the studio didn't want that, so they settled for just the captain getting the head job. The Falling Rocks award for lamest kill has to go to Dodge, because we didn't even get to see him die, or how he reacted to Ferryman, not being dead. Total jip. Even if we needed the Dodge Ferryman deception with Epps, you could have had Dodge walk in halfway through the scene. Ferryman does the telekinesis thing, hits her in the head with the pipe, she gets knocked in the water, kills Dodge, then he goes back to Epps. Final fight plays out exactly the same. Then we would have got the satisfaction of actually seeing what happened to Dodge. And yeah, there you have it. Final rating, 3 maggot-filled spaghetti tins out of 5. Ghost Ship it's worth watching. Like I said, it's not great, it's not shit, it's a decent horror movie. I would still love to see a sequel. Desmond Harrington still looks basically the same. So I reckon he'd be able to come back and play the part, but I don't know. I doubt it'll happen. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching the review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're at this point, I assume you enjoyed my video, so like, share, comment, subscribe, anything would be vastly appreciated. Anything but, hitting the dislike button. I'd rather you didn't do that.